Call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. While Donald Trump is sabotaging the United States of America's economy and, of course, telling you it's in America's best interest that consumers pay more money for products, everybody on the conservative side seems to be distracted with nonsense, as per usual, right? And here is Bill Maher and Kid Rock coming to the White House for dinner. This is a big deal to the alt-right media. This absolute charade where Kid Rock is wearing this ridiculous outfit is really getting the conservatives motivated for patriotism, because that's how easy it is to deceive these people and to get them excited. They could literally have $0 in their bank account. They can watch their 401k go to zero. They could be told that this is all to form a North American Union, but they're more excited about seeing Kid Rock in a ridiculous clown outfit at the White House, and of course, Democrat Bill Maher showing up. Now, this isn't the first time that Bill Maher and Donald Trump have gotten together. I mean, what, you don't think that these guys were friends long before Donald Trump became a fake politician? Because, of course, we know politicians are actors, and this goes back for centuries. I mean, we even have people who are self-admitted actors like Ronald Reagan, who played the role of President of the United States of America. But first, I want to show you a couple of things here. This cringy clip from this show called Fox and Friends. And I want to show you, this is exactly the psychology that they've used on the American people. They're sitting here and they're talking about how great this is, that Bill Maher, this extreme Democrat, could come to the White House to, share bread, break bread with Donald Trump. And maybe in the future, this will make people out there get along with one another. They talk about how people out there won't even speak to their neighbors. The same exact thing I've been talking about, how deep this psychosis goes, that they've made people not talk to their neighbors based on politics. If somebody is a Trump supporter and their neighbor has a Biden flag, they might even move away. That's how bad they despise them. Well, where do you think the psychosis comes from? It comes from propaganda like Fox and Friends. It comes from these celebrities who are using social engineering and social influence to influence society's behavior. So they have the nerve, while Kid Rock is on here, to talk about how something like this might lead to peace in America and people getting along again. But they're the ones who are fully responsible for it, including Kid Rock, who is a government asset as well.
All right, Bill Maher may be one of President Trump's most vocal critics, but that didn't stop him from getting an invitation to dinner at the White House last night.
So how did it go? Music superstar Kid Rock arranged it all, and he joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, kids.
Good morning. All right, tell us what happened from start to finish in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds, I went on Bill's show. I went on his podcast, and I said, man, nothing happens if people don't break bread together and meet face to face. He's been one of the president's hardest critics, and we came to dinner, me, Bill, Dana White, and it could not have been better. Everyone was so surprised, so pleasant. The most shocking thing to me was, Bill's obviously a very big liberal, been very hard on the president, but he's donated a lot of money to other politicians. You've had Biden, Clinton, Obama, everybody. He had never been to the White House, and the president was so gracious. He took us up to the private residence. We saw the Gettysburg Address in the Lincoln bedroom, and I was like, you've never been here, Bill? And I was like, how about this? President Trump, extending this olive branch, and we talked about things we had in common, ending wokeness, securing the border. The president was asking him what he thought about policy, going on with Iran and Israel and things. It just meant, it blew my mind. It was, right. I was, very, very proud.
Bob, do you think he walked away liking him? Because, Trump is the type of person that you got to meet him to understand it.
100%. Me and Dana both said there's never been that's ever met the president in any scenario that's walked away without saying wow, what a great guy. He's so funny, so engaging. He's so smart. And absolutely, Bill even said to me, after that, he goes, wow, that was, everybody's mind was kind of blown. Even the president's, I think, because the president called me late night last night, and, everyone was a little suspect about going into this. And even the president kind of allured to me a little bit like, what do you got me doing?
Right.
And I go, man, we're just trying to show people that, even though we've been pretty hard on each other, that when you get face to face, maybe we could have a little more civility in this country and try to bring people together.
And
that was my whole intention.
That was so important, because so many people now are in their own little silos, and they don't even talk to the people across the street because they voted for somebody else. You showed that two
Right.
of the biggest, most vocal people on both sides of the aisle can break bread, have a good time, and ultimately, I'm sure you took a bunch of pictures.
We did. Well, we kind of checked our phones. You know, the president put his phone on a table, and he said, everybody, you know, and the guys kind of took ours, and the White House took some pictures, which I'm sure they'll put out at some point, because I can't wait to have one of those. I was clowning around the White House all day, taking pictures in the bowling alley and this, and running around in my flashy, as your son called it, Peter, in my get shot out of a cannon suit. That was funny.
Evil Knievel.
Right. So you did this. You set this up. Do you sense that anything will change with Bill Maher's show from here? Because I think he's been very fair, to be honest. Out of all those shows, what do you think?
That's my hope that, you know, that, you know, and God bless Bill too, for, he even said going into this, he goes, because I go, Bill, I know, you know, some of this Hollywood stuff, it would be great for you to get thrown out, and it'd probably be good for you to double down and be like, you know, I can't stand this guy. And he goes, Bob, I'm not going to sabotage something that potentially could bring us and other people together, you know, just to show that, you know, that
Nice.
family member that you kind of divided with over politics, or that person at the school when you drop your kids off that you know is a left-wing person, and you're like, that maybe we'll just, you know, hey, we can find things we have in common. And it gets so easy to go on social media. And one thing we learned through COVID was that isolation breeds hatred. We need to get out and talk to one another.
Yeah.
So it's laughable, it's cringy. I mean, this is like, you know, you see this and you think it's some type of satire skit show. This is the news, the way they act, how giddy they get, and how this is really just a team first mentality, which shows you it's dual communism happening at once. These people are thrilled that Bill Maher, a Democrat, came to the White House to speak to Donald Trump because they're hoping he sees the light and joins their team, right? This is how low the level of thinking has gotten. And of course, these people will conveniently forget how Kid Rock has even openly admitted to attending events like the Bohemian Grove. Remember?
He went with Alex to Bohemian Grove.
I was at the Owl statues, so I'm there on day one, right? And we're drinking beers, like, it's pretty laid back. There's some really cool talks. But the first day, it was the first evening, and you gather around whatever, the Owl by this lake, if I remember correctly, with like, this is some real secret-ass shit, man. And it's just a trove of celebrities.
You were hoping for some devil shit.
Just some crazy shit. I did have some fun there, I gotta say. Met, like, Paul Pelosi and his son,
Oh boy.
and, like, Chris Matthews. But I was
Okay.
hanging out with them. We were having cool conversations.
That's
Kind of weird. And then they asked me, like, I had to come play my guitar and, like, sing at one of these camp things. And I was like, I feel so used. I did have some fun there, I gotta say.
Right, so Kid Rock attends the Bohemian Grove, where anybody out there who knows about Bohemian Grove, obviously I've done deep dives on Bohemian Grove many times over, the stories that have come out of Bohemian Grove, especially from locals in the area, who have talked openly about how many children come in on those weekends to hang out with the men, how many boys come right up there on buses and get dropped off, and some never leave the Bohemian Club. But Kid Rock was there, and it's no big deal to these conservatives who think they're awake to the New World Order, because he's on their team. Just like if Donald Trump is seen in pictures with Jeffrey Epps, it's no big deal to them, as long as they could point a finger at someone who's not on their team, right? And that brings me to Bill Maher. Because if this stuff with Donald Trump isn't obvious enough, that he is not a Christian, that he is not for Jesus. In fact, what he's doing here with building out these anti-Semi laws that he has put in place is eventually to condemn Christianity, right? And I'll show you that right now, including some other things with Bill Maher that you'll be interested in seeing. So let's start here. Bill Maher, right? His movie Religulous, which makes fun of religion. Now, I'm a follower of Christ. I'm not a believer in the word religion. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, but he obviously has openly mocked Jesus Christ. He's openly mocked Christians. That's what he really does all the time. He's even tweeted out things in the past. America's finally getting it. Prayer doesn't work, because if it did, every drug test would come back clean and there'd be no need for the morning after pill, right? He's always mocked Christianity. I want to play this clip for you because this is from a few months ago, where our buddy Yuval Harari, the same Yuval Harari that, well, I've broken down a lot of the things that he's talked about every single time he pretty much opens his mouth, how humanity doesn't deserve to exist anymore. Of course, he's always attacking Christians, always talking about how they're going to get underneath our skin and monitor and track us. Well, let me play this clip for you because it's a really good example. This is from a few months ago about a certain group of people that you're not allowed to talk about and why people don't like them. And of course, who's going to get blamed for that? Because see, Christians out there don't realize where all this stuff is headed towards. This is a perfect example. They're talking about why do people hate this certain group? And they're blaming it on Christians and they're blaming it on the Bible. And in fact, he's even saying that the Bible doesn't justify you actually believing that a certain group of people were the ones responsible for killing Jesus. And if you believe that, you're anti this. Listen to this ridiculous clip.
Why do people hate the Jews?
The best historical answer that I know is something which doesn't really come from Christian theology. Statement number one, Jesus came to save all humans from our misery. I'm still miserable. Statement number three, the Jews killed Jesus. How do you connect these three statements together in a logical way? You get anti-Semitism.
I would add to that, I think that is one of the reasons that they think, a lot of people think the Jews killed Jesus. Chosen people strikes a lot of people wrong. Three, successful. Very successful.
So, of course, Christianity is responsible for those thoughts and those beliefs. And you got to love how smug he is at the end because we're successful, he says, and all of the sheep in the audience applaud and don't realize that these people, like Bill Maher, like Yuval, are not in those positions because they're smarter or more successful than the rest of us. They've obviously created this mass hypnosis on people into thinking that they've been victimized and that, people should be arrested for questioning the things that they teach in their sacred books. But this all leads to the things that I've talked about with Donald Trump and the unprecedented steps to combat this anti-Semi type of mentality. And it's not about somebody who has a Hail Hitler sign or something in their lawn. It's going to be about the Bible. And Trump is exposing who he really is by who he's yoked up with, the people he's surrounding himself with, including, obviously, Elon Musk, who is trying to get a Neuralink inside of people's bodies. Now he's yoking up with Bill Maher. And if that's not enough for anyone out there, I broke down Bill Maher many years ago. Remember Bill Maher, the Pizza Man? That was a movie that Bill Maher was in, The Pizza Man. If you think that's a coincidence, let me play this clip for you and listen to it thoroughly about Bill Maher, who condoned a 35-year-old woman with a 12-year-old boy and having babies with this boy when he turned 14, and how, of course, this is a good thing and they should be allowed to be together. Of course, we aren't going to hear anybody point this stuff out and talk about, well, wait a minute. He's actually condoning those types of things because this is the type of stuff that gets swept under the rug. But listen to Bill Maher condone what we would call this, the pizza delivery man.
Mary Kay Letourneau, the teacher from Seattle, who is in jail because she is in love. That's how I view it. I admit that it's unorthodox. She is 35. The boy is 14. He was younger when they started. But the big story this week.
Have you been bar mitzvah?
Have I?
No, it's he.
Oh. Okay. But she is pregnant again. That was the story this week. With the second child by this boy. So basically they're having a family and they're keeping the mother in jail because she won't conform to what society feels should be the perfect American family.
Yeah, it's perfect. My dad's 14 years old older than me.
Absolutely sickening.
What is sickening?
A woman who's over 20 years older and she raped this kid.
Raped?
What?
Come on.
She forced.
She forced? How do you know? And how can you?
Well, how do you know that she didn't rape him?
How can
do
a
you
woman
know that she didn't seduce him?
How can a woman rape a man?
I think that an older woman can manipulate a young kid, and I don't think it's really healthy. I don't think it's healthy for a kid who's going to be 14 with two kids out in the world. I think those children will grow up fairly damaged. I think that kid's going to grow up fairly damaged.
So you're on her side?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a damn shame, Bill Maher. A damn shame. I just wanted to say that. It's just something I've been wanting to say on TV a long time. It's a damn shame.
I see why they call you the entertainer.
That's it.
But if if it were a 14-year-old girl, I mean, society would.
But it's not a 14-year-old
You're not
girl.
defending this woman, are you?
I am completely defending not the woman only, but the boy as well.
He's
I'm
14.
thinking about
What does he
sex
know?
issues.
When you were 14, would you have been able to take care of 2 kids?
Oh, I would have been able to take care of her. So it's better that she's in jail. It's better that she's in jail. That's the way. That's the good thing for the kids.
Psychiatric help.
Mommy's in
Do you
jail.
think children have the emotional capacity to raise other children? I mean, like, we have enough problems in our society as it is with men not being present in family
First of
life and all
all-
this. And a 14-year-old, is a 14-year-old really able to understand what it takes to raise a child and be like a father figure and a man? And,
In most of societies in human history, 14-year-olds were fathers.
but we're not talking about other societies. We're
No,
not
we're talking about our
we're
sick
talking-
society.
We're talking about
We're talking about our really
the
healthy
Western
society that knows how to raise kids.
That is exactly what it is, a sick society. And it goes back to
Why is it sick?
government has taken over control of the families. The parents have no longer, they're not in decision making anymore. So this is what's happening now.
But tell me, you said it's rape. How does a woman rape a man? Because doesn't rape involve an
What about
erection?
statutory rape? Statutory rape can be consensual.
Wait a second.
Statutory rape can be consensual. It's just the reason it's rape is because the woman is under 18 years of age. Like, and basically what it is, like, she may have said, hey, I'm ready to have sex with you, but the law says, no, you're not. Until you're 18 years old, you are not
But
allowed
how
to
do
have
you
sex
fake
with.
an erection?
I don't think that's an issue.
I mean, obviously,
I don't think that's an issue.
Bill, come on, the guy's 14. I mean, he's getting an erection when he doesn't want one a lot of times, you know? So, I mean, her timing is impeccable, and that's the thing you got to commend here. I mean,
A 14-year-old
she knows
doesn't have
what to
all the
jump
sense.
on.
A 35-year-old woman should have more sense than having. What do they have? Conjugal visits? Like, how did she get pregnant in prison?
No, she was
She got
out
out for a while.
She was out
Was
on
she?
parole,
On
and
work
obviously
release?
their love was so strong that they still wanted to see each other.
Yeah.
I don't understand why all of you who are so hip
What is love? Define love. Like,
define love. If we could, we would have, but we can't. It's something that happens between two people, and these are the two people.
But love can be defined at least a little bit. Is a 14-year-old really capable of all the things of having 2 children and a family and a deep relationship with a much older woman? Is he capable of processing all of that? Were you able to do that when you were 14?
Financing the kids' well-being as he gets ready to hit 10th grade. What's up with that?
All right, well, as usual, the entire panel is wrong. We'll have to take a commercial.
So it's pretty incredible the things that these people could say. And we've obviously heard how much they flip-flop on issues. And the world we live in now, everybody conveniently forgets what people said days prior, right? Donald Trump was always a Democrat. He was pro-woman's right to choose. And now he's not. No, he changed his mind. That's all they need to hear, right? I mean, I find it pretty... People who flip-flop and change their mind are usually people that can't be trusted, right? People who constantly change their views on certain things, right? But issues like pro-life, pro-choice, those aren't things you're usually going to flip-flop on. Unless, of course, you're just playing the game, which is exactly what Trump is doing. So, Bill Maher goes to the White House. I love how this Dana White character is always there. Kid Rock said, this is what they're all talking about. This is why I'm covering it, because this is how you keep people stuck at just a dumbed-down level of thinking, excited about, pretty much this is like Hollywood gossip, right? They're all thrilled. You heard the people on Fox and Friends are thrilled. Oh, they're all at the White House having dinner together. Meanwhile, Trump is tariffing the entire earth right now, which only ends up costing us more money. It only ends up, with people who have 401ks and money in the stock market going broke because the stock market is tanking beyond belief. And that doesn't mean that it won't come back up. Of course, they want you to think that it might, and maybe it in fact will. But they want you to pay attention to crap like this and that team mentality, because that's all this is, right? This is like listening to some sports story where, a free agent from the Giants is going to the Cowboys. And now the Cowboys fans who all hated this guy when he was on the Giants, well, he's actually speaking to the Cowboys. He might sign with the Dallas Cowboys. And then they're all excited. They're like, well, if he joins us, he's one of us then, right? It's the same exact thing. Who gives a crap about Bill Maher and his opinion? Who gives a crap about Kid Rock and his opinion? Well, apparently the sheeple do. And the same ones, the conservatives who pretend like they're not under mind control. They pretend to know all about the CIA. They talk about Mockingbird Media. They talk about all these operations. They don't even realize that they're part of it, believing in the left-right paradigm. It's a creation of the quote-unquote deep state. And then you go into Kid Rock's affiliation with Bohemian Grove, being at Bohemian Grove. Oh, well, he was there, but he's not one of them. Oh, as if he could go to Bohemian Grove and then turn on the deep state and then be on every TV show, be standing with the president, be completely safe and talking about how weird Bohemian Grove is. If you're in the club, you don't get out of the club, right? I've talked about this many times. It's called Mozarting. Video's available on the website, okay? Mozart's a perfect example. What do you think happened to Mozart? Mozart started getting a little chit-chatty about what they were doing in their secret Freemason clubs. He got a little chit-chatty about all of it. And he was one of the most honored Freemasons. A lot of his music is written specifically that you still hear for Freemasonry. And what happened to Mozart? Well, he got a little drunk. He started talking, started turning on some people, and they had to whack Mozart. And that's why you see that famous picture of Mozart and his funeral and how nobody actually attended. It's a message. It's a statement. And they want you to know that statement. They put that out there. That's why it's one of the only things they still talk about with Mozart. You might hear some of his music because, of course, it's Masonic music written with Masonic keys and notes, but they want you to know. This is a perfect example. He's somebody who, well, if you turn on the Brotherhood, this is what happens. So if Kid Rock went to Bohemian Grove, it means that he was in the club because they're not just going to say, hey, this guy made a couple million records. He sold a couple million records. Let's invite him to the Bohemian Club where we do all of these illegal activities, that we're not allowed to talk about, where we drink some red liquid together. Yeah, let's bring him there. We could trust him that he won't go out and tell everybody and expose it. You have to be sworn to secrecy. You have to be in the fraternal order to attend, right? Just like Jones. You think Alex Jones got in there and snuck a camera? Nobody could ever have done that. I've said that a million times. Would have been whacked within seconds. It would never have left. And the footage would never, ever have made it out. They wanted it out because they wanted to build an audience behind Alex Jones as if he was exposing something big. He was compromised, right? Nobody would go there and ever be able to do that. Just like Kid Rock would never be able to go there, talk about it, and then pretend like, well, I'm not a part of that anymore. I'm with Donald Trump. And all these people just take him at his word, right? Or Bill Maher telling you exactly why he's yoked up with Donald Trump now, why he's been taking it easy on Donald Trump. Because there you have the connection between one of the faces of the synagogue of Satan out in the open, right? Who's, notorious for all of his talk about how great the synagogue of Satan is and how bad Christianity is, how stupid Christianity is, how dumb religion is, how Jesus never existed. These are all things that he talks about. And then you have Trump, who's saved by God, meeting with this guy. And people are like, well, just because he's not Christian doesn't mean that Trump can't meet with them or change it. Well, why would he want to meet with them? Oh, now you could see why. Because that speech there that you heard Yuval, of all people, talking about with Bill Maher, about why are we persecuted people? Well, because of Christians, right? Because some Christians don't understand their book, right? The ones who think that a certain group of people are responsible for it, well, they're anti this. And if other people out there believe that too, they're anti. And then they tell you it's not even the right theology. And you go, huh? What? And they'll convince these people of that because their 501c3 churches will stop speaking that way. And then it'll just be people like us who get removed. And the cookie cutter, lukewarm churches will be saying, oh yeah, that's just false doctrine, that it was a certain group of people responsible for the death of the King of Kings, right? And anybody out there who believes it, of course, will be tied to being called anti-you-know-what. And that's why Trump's laws are out there right now, because next up are Christians. And these Christians will change their beliefs and everything they've believed for most of their lives. At least some Christians, right, who know this. It's very clear who's responsible. And they'll say, no, that's the chosen, right? Not understanding the state, 1948, and who the real chosen people actually are. And you continue to see the comments under my videos. They continue to not understand. They're like, well, God said they're going to get their land back. You're talking about people who are pretending to be people that they're not, right? Who are currently there, residing. What it means is that eventually the true chosen ones will be there. And guess who the true chosen ones are? Those saved through the blood of Jesus Christ. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your family.